Starlink's gigabit speeds are about to make high-speed internet more accessible than ever, and this is all thanks to one man, Elon Musk. So we know that Elon's SpaceX company provides internet services through satellites through Starlink. One of the best things about Starlink is its performance in places where it is hard to get a reliable internet connection. On October 11th, Elon Musk's SpaceX filed a request to the Federal Communications Commission, FCC, to change how satellites operate in space. But how do any of these things affect us, and why should you even care? Okay, so let's just cut through all the noise and get straight to business. Just a couple of months ago, SpaceX president and COO Gwynne Shotwell confirmed that Starlink will be able to provide everybody.
So Starlink can serve people in cities, but fiber is much better suited to highly populated areas.
In rural and semi-rural US with high-speed broadband internet connectivity for a tiny fraction of the price of laying down a fiber optic cable.
Fiber can be $10,000 to $30,000 per mile. I can bridge that gap with one Starlink kit, which is $500 and service depending $50 to $100 a month service.
For starters, Starlink is the largest ever satellite constellation. Across its 10,000 lasers, it can transmit 5.6 terabytes per second and more than 42 petabytes in a single day, equivalent to 28 million hours of 1080p HD video. Simply put, Starlink is unrivaled when it comes to internet connectivity. However, the company isn't ready to slow down just yet. They are pushing the envelope with the next-gen Starlink network called the Gen 2. Okay, so remember we said that Starlink reached out to the FCC to allow them to make some small changes to their satellite configuration. Let's talk about those changes and what they mean. These changes or upgrades include 1. Gigabit speeds and ultra-low latency. Gen 2 Starlink aims to provide super-fast, reliable broadband with lower latency, critical for seamless mobile connections, even in remote areas. Sometimes when you use satellite internet, you experience delays loading web pages or streaming video, but with this change, all that would be in the past. Think of ultra connectivity, but it doesn't just stop at that. Starlink also wants to lower satellite altitudes. By bringing satellites closer to Earth, SpaceX can reduce signal travel time, significantly enhancing performance and reducing delays. Specifically, Starlink wants to get the satellites that are currently at altitudes of 525 kilometers, 530 kilometers, and 535 kilometers, all the way down to 480, 485, and 475 kilometers, respectively. These changes will still allow the satellites to operate as usual, but this time more efficiently. The reconfiguration will increase the potential maximum number of orbital planes and satellites per plane, while keeping the planned total number of second-generation satellites at 29,988 or less. I should mention that the FCC has since approved 7,500 of these Gen 2 satellites, and nearly 6,000 of those are currently in operational orbit, according to data from astronomer John McDowell. We also have E-band frequencies. The shift to these frequencies will allow the system to handle more data with higher capacity, ensuring ultra-fast internet even in congested networks. Essentially, the combination of lower satellite altitudes and E-band frequencies will help boost high-speed broadband through dishes and mobile gear. Last but not least are the Starship Launches. Starship Launches. The satellites will be deployed from SpaceX's next-generation Starship, which will revolutionize the scale and speed of deployment. These tweaks might seem small to the casual viewer, but let me tell you, they are game-changing. Think about the numerous regions underserved with internet connectivity. You might be lucky to be in a developed place, but think about the millions of people who do not have access to good internet. With these upgrades from Starlink, there will be mobile connections for everyone, no exceptions. And the best part, these powerhouse satellites will blast off on Starship. One of the reasons this is huge for us is that with these upgrades, we could be seeing nearly 10 times faster download speeds, with internet speeds reaching 1 gigabit per second in the US and all over the world. The company made this promise back in November 2016 when they were still figuring things out. However, 8 years later, the promise is now on its way to becoming a reality. It's not like the internet speeds from Starlink were crappy before now. Users typically experience download speeds ranging between 25 and 220 megabits per second, with the majority of users experiencing speeds over 100 megabits per second, Mbps. The upload speeds were a lot slower, typically between 5 and 20 Mbps. Then we had latency, which is the delay between sending and receiving data, ranging from 25 to 60 milliseconds on land and over 100 milliseconds in more remote locations. We also need to talk about the satellite elevation angles, because another request would be to change the elevation angles of satellites in order to improve network performance and reliability. The elevation angle is the angle between the satellite and the horizon. You see, SpaceX wants to lower its minimum elevation angle from 25 degrees to 20 degrees for satellites operating between 400 and 500 kilometers altitude to enhance customer connectivity by allowing satellites to connect to more Earth stations directly and for longer periods. On top of that, it will also help the company maintain connections with Earth stations for longer while flying overhead. In addition to all of these proposed changes and requests, Starlink also wants to give its Gen 2 satellites a facelift by improving its hardware for higher gain, so that the satellites can focus their signals more powerfully on certain areas. More advanced beamforming and digital processing technologies to also provide more targeted and robust coverage for Starlink users. SpaceX is also looking to gain more flexibility with the use of its spectrum licenses to support its planned mobile service and the current home internet service. The company wants to use certain frequency bands like Ka, V, and E-band frequencies for mobile or fixed satellite use cases where the US or international table of frequency allocations permit such dual use and where the antenna parameters would be indistinguishable. Usually, these band frequencies are dedicated to one specific type of use. However, SpaceX is looking to use these frequency bands for both mobile and fixed satellite use cases, depending on the situation and what the rules allow locally or internationally. It's important to note that all of these upgrades do not require any changes to the technical details of SpaceX's current license. It's all within the rules. And with these changes comes more flexibility to meet the diverse connectivity needs of individual consumers, companies, and government users. Just one thing, though. Elon Musk's SpaceX might be facing some roadblocks, and the FCC might not approve all of their requests easily. We've seen other satellite operators and mobile carriers oppose some of SpaceX's plans. For instance, not too long ago, two mobile companies, AT&T and Verizon, asked the FCC to reject a crucial part of SpaceX's plan to offer cellular service with T-Mobile. You see, SpaceX requested a waiver of FCC rules on out-of-band emission limits, which essentially are signals that spill over into frequencies that other services use. It stands to reason, because as a mobile connectivity company, you wouldn't want signals from a rival company to interfere with yours. The FCC itself has also doubted some of the claims made by SpaceX and denied some of its requests in the past. Circa 2022, the FCC raised some concerns about Starlink's ability to provide reliable services, and then went on to deny the company's application for $880 million in federal funding for a broadband internet access program.
The Federal Communications Commission reaffirming a 2022 decision to deny Elon Musk's Starlink internet service nearly $900 million in rural broadband subsidies earlier this week.
The FCC thought Starlink wouldn't be able to meet some of the program's requirements, and therefore denied their request. As you would expect, Elon Musk criticized the FCC for denying the grant. However, now that Starlink wants to improve its speed and capacity, the company must ensure that whatever it does won't affect other spectrum users and satellite operators. Starlink currently connects millions of people around the globe across over 100 countries, territories, and markets. Having now known the ins and outs of the company's plan to upgrade its satellite for faster and more reliable internet connectivity, the jury is out on if Starlink will deliver as promised. But what do you reckon? Be sure to let me know in the comments. Smash that subscribe button if you loved this video and want to see more optimistic AI content. And if you missed out on our update about the first synthetic AI human, no worries, I've got you covered in this next video.